Have you ever wondered whether to use an observer or an event listener in Laravel? Both seem to do similar things, but in reality, they serve different purposes. In this video, we will break it down step by step, and we will explore when to use observers and when to use events and listeners. Also, we will see the performance considerations and real-world coding examples. So by the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of how to choose the right approach for your Laravel projects. Hey developers, welcome back to Programming Fields. I'm Umesh Rana, and today I came up with one more detailed video in which we will compare the Laravel Observers and Event Listener. But before we dive in, I just want to mention that I have already covered Laravel Events, Events Listener and Observers in a separate videos as a part of different playlist. So if you are new to this concept or need a refresher, I highly recommend checking them out for a deeper understanding. And for simplicity, I will link those videos in the description below. Now let's get started. So let's start with what is an observer. Laravel observers are classes that listen for a specific model lifecycle events. So you can just consider as when a model is created, updated or deleted, the model lifecycle methods will be executed automatically. And you can think of them as event listeners, but this is not similar to event listener. The observer is directly connected to model's lifecycle, and they are useful for logging changes, maintaining audit trails, and automatically updating related data. And if you want a deeper dive, you can check out our dedicated video in Laravel Observers. Now we will talk about what is event and listener. Events and listener allow you to decouple your business logic, and instead of executing everything in the same process, an event fires, and belonging to the event, multiple listeners can respond some event asynchronously via queue. And this is perfect for actions like sending emails, triggering notifications, or broadcasting real-time updates. And if you are new to events and listener, check out our playlist in which I already covered these all features in the detail. Now we'll talk about the differences between observers and event listener. The observers are specifically designed for eloquent models, and they allow you to group all model related logic, just like logging or updating related records, into a single class. But on the other hand, events and listeners are more flexible and they can be used for any application logic, not just for the model. For example, you can use events to send emails, clear application cache, or even trigger notifications. Now let's talk about when to use observers, because this is very confusing. So observers are perfect when you want to keep all model related logic in one place. For example, you have a blog application, and when you create a post, every time you just want to log that activity for that post created, then you can create a post observer and you can implement the updated method. This will keep your code clean and organized. Now on the other hand, events and listener are ideal for decoupling logic. For example, when a new user registers, you might want to send a welcome email and update a newsletter subscription, and also you want to log the registration action. So instead of putting all these logic in the controller, you can dispatch a user register event and handle each task in a separate listeners. This will make your code more modular and easier to maintain, and we already covered up these all in the event listener playlist. Now I will jump to the code editor in which I will show you difference between the observer and event listener. Okay, so I have a fresh Laravel 11 application setup. Inside this, I have just created one controller as post controller. Here I have one function as index that is returning a view as create post. Now inside the views, I have a basic form in which I have just two inputs for creating post. This is title and description. Here we have the submit button. If I will show you in the browser, here this is looking like this. Now regarding this post form, we don't have the submit functionality added yet. So firstly, I will create a model and migration for this post so that we can save this title and description. I will quickly come to the terminal, and here I will just create one model post and I will create one migration. So I will just pass -m. Okay, post model and migration have been created. Now inside the migration, I will add few columns just like title. This will be nullable. And also I will add description. So this will be text description. Now respective to the migration, I will come to the post model. Inside this, I will define the fillable property. So inside this array, I will just add title and description. Now I will execute the migration. So I will type PHP artisan migrate. Let's hit enter. Migration has been executed and this schema has been dumped into the database. Now I will come to the save functionality of that post. So inside the HTTP, inside the post controller, I will create one function to store that post. So I will define the function as store. Now inside this function, I will be accepting the form request data. So I will capture it through the illuminate HTTP request and I will create its instance. Here I will quickly add one basic form validation here. So I will write $request validate function. Inside this, I will create one array and I will add the validation for title as required, description required. Okay, this is store function. Okay, now I will come to the create post blade. Inside this form, I will add the action so that we can dispatch this form request to that function. So I will add route post dot store. We already have this CSRF token here. Now let's define this route inside web.php. So I'll come to the routes web.php. Inside the controller group function, I will add one more route as route : post store, and this will call the store method. I will add name as post.store. Alright. Now regarding the form validation error, we already added it inside this form for the title and description. If I'll come to the browser, if I will refresh, if I will try to submit the form, the validation is working properly. Now I will quickly add the post create functionality. So as of now, I will use the post model here. So I will add post : create method, and inside this I will pass the validated data. So I will just capture that data from here, validated request. Okay, and simply I will return it. I'll come to the browser now. I will just add one title as Laravel Event Listener tutorial. I'll click on submit. Okay, the post has been created and that returned the post data. Now I just want to implement one functionality to send the notification to the admin user. So whenever a new post will be created, this will send one notification to the admin user. And also I want to log this activity in the laravel.log file so that we can check the log for every newly created post. So in order to implement the functionality, I won't add those functionalities inside the controller itself. Instead, I will just separate those functionalities in the model observer, because this is a part of the post model, right? So regarding the post model functionalities, just like any action which are going to be performed based on the post lifecycle method, we can place those all things inside the model observer. because that is a part of the post model only, right? So Laravel provides the model lifecycle class, that is observer, and that observer will work based on the model lifecycle events. So I will quickly create one observer for this post model because this will be specific for the model. So I will just create one observer using PHP addition make observer command. Here I will pass the observer class name. I want to create as post observer, and here I will just pass the class name of that model for which I'm just going to create this observer. So we have the model as post, that we will have to specify it here. So I will specify -- model is equals to post. Let's hit enter. Yes, the post observer has been created. If we'll check out that, if I'll expand the code base, here inside the app we have the observers folder. Inside this we have the post observer created. Now let me quickly walk through this post observer class. Inside this we have a couple of methods defined, okay, and these all methods are called model lifecycle methods. So this model has a life cycle, like when the model is created, updated, deleted, okay, and these all methods will be executed based on the model action. So when a post is created, this will automatically invoke this created method. Similarly, if you have any functionality to edit and update that post, so after updating the post, that will trigger up this updated method. Similarly, whenever you will delete the post, this will trigger this method automatically. And this is the restored method. So whenever you are maintaining soft delete, then after having this soft delete, if you want to restore that post, this will trigger this restored method. And this is for the force deleted. Whenever you want to delete any record or post forcefully, this will trigger this method. So this post observer lifecycle methods are responsible to handle the post model actions only. So I will add dump and die inside the created method, and here we already have the post instance because we have created this observer to listen the post model events, right? That's why we had specified the post model here while creating this observer. So we have added the post dump here, but in order to connect this post observer with the post model to handle all these actions, we will have to observe that so that it will be able to capture the post model events. And for this, you will have to register this post with the post observer so that these two classes can connect together to listen the actions. Okay. So Laravel provides an attribute. Based on that, we can directly observe this observer inside its respective model. So we just want to observe this post observer in the post model. Inside this, we will have to use one attribute. So just above this class, here we will have to write one property observed by. Okay. Inside this, we will have to pass that observer class. So we will write post observer, that we will have to import it here, colon class. So whenever this post will perform any action like created, updated or deleted, this will automatically dispatch those events inside the post observer class. Okay. So we have already added a dump and die inside the created method. So we will be able to get the post created data inside this. So I will change this to dump and die, and I'll come to the browser. I'll go back. I will refresh, and now I will try to create another post. Laravel new blog post. I will add the description and I'll click on submit. When the post is created, this has returned the post data, and this dump is added inside the post observer. So this has triggered an event when this post has been created, and the post observer automatically captured that event inside this class. Now here I just want to send one notification to the admin user. And for this, we should have at least one admin user. So I'll check out the database.sqlite. Inside the users table, we have one admin user. Here we have the type as user type admin. So I will query this user table and I will just find the admin user data. So I will just use user model : where user type, because we have the column as user type in order to check the admin type. So I will add user type admin, and I will just use first function because currently we have only one admin. If we will have more than one, we can fetch them using the get function. So I will just capture admin user. Here we will have the admin user. Now I want to send one notification to the admin user. So for this, I will be creating one notification class provided by Laravel. So I'll quickly come to the terminal. I will create one notification class using the make notification command. And here I will just provide the class name. So I just want to create class for notifying the admin. So I will add notify admin. Let's hit enter. Yes, the notify admin class has been created inside the notifications folder. Here we have notifications folder. Inside the notify admin class, we have the construct, okay, and we have the mail template. I will quickly change the mail template. Here I just want to send post data via the email to the admin user. So I will be just creating hey admin. I will duplicate this line, and here I will just customize the message. A new blog post has been published with the following details. And here in the next line, I will add title, and this I will fetch it from the post. So we will have to capture the post data inside the notification class. So I will just add post variable, and I will just define it public $post. Now I will assign this post variable data to this public post variable. So I will be using $this post is equals to $post. Now from this post variable, we can capture the title. So I'll be using $this post title, and this will be description, and I will add the time as published at. So for this I will be using created at, and I will just format this date time to DMY format. So I will be using format function, and I will specify the format as date, month and year. This is done, and here we can set the redirection URL. As of now, I will just keep this to home page. That is fine. And here I will just add thank you. This is done. Now I will trigger this notification using the queue. So I will use implements should queue, just like this. So this notification will be triggered via the queue. Also, we will have to configure the email credentials inside the .env file. So I will come to the .env file, and here I'll scroll down to the mail section, and I already have the mail credentials connected with the Mailtrap account. So this will work. Now we will come to the post observer, and after creating the post, I will notify to the admin. So I will write $admin user notify. Inside this, I will pass that notification class. So this is notify admin, and we will have to call it using the new keyword. Now inside this, I will just pass the post data. Okay, this is done. Now I will come to the browser. I'll go back. I will refresh the application. I will create one more post as Laravel Event Listener. I will click on submit. Here this has returned the response. Now in order to trigger the email, we will have to run the queue. and I will type PHP addition queue work. Now this is executing the notify admin queue and this will trigger the email. So let's wait for a moment. Yes, this is done. Now I'll come to the mail trap mailbox and here we can see we received the notification. We have the data, Laravel Event Listener, description, and we have the date. Now also if you want to log the data after creating the post, then we will have to use the log facade here and we can dump log info. A new post has been published, post title with title and description, post description. Let's concat this. Okay, so after creating the post, this will perform two activities, just like firstly it will notify to the admin for that post, and next this will log that in the laravel.log file. So this is all about the model observer. Now we can handle these two actions using the event and listener. So for this I'll come to the terminal, I'll stop the queue and I will create event. I will just type make event and here I will just create one event as post published. Let's hit enter. Yes, the post publish event has been created. Now in order to capture the post publish event action, we will have to create listeners. So we are performing here two actions, just like firstly we were sending the email and then we were logging that. So in order to perform these two actions, we will have to create two different listeners, so that every listener will be responsible to handle only one task, and that will increase the code scalability. So I will create two listeners here respective to this. So I will create PHP addition make listener notify admin listener. Okay, and here I will just pass the event as post publish, so that this listener will bound with this post published. Let's hit enter. Yes, the first listener has been created. Similarly, we will create one more listener to log the activity. So I will add log post published listener, and again this will be linked with post published event. Okay, we have two listeners created. Now let's check out one by one. So firstly let's come to the events. Inside this we have the post published event. Okay, here we have the constructor and we have the broadcast. So regarding the broadcast, we already saw that in one of the video regarding the event broadcasting. So inside the event we cannot write the logic to perform any action. This will just capture the data from the controller or service, and this will just push that data to the listeners. So related to every actions, we will have to create different listeners, and the listeners will be responsible to capture those all activity. So firstly, we will come to this notify admin listener. Inside this event has been bound here. Here we have the constructor and handle method. So inside the handle method, I just want to send one notification to the admin. Okay, so I will just quickly come to the post observer, and here I'll just copy this code. I'll come to the notify admin listener. I will add it here. I will import the user model and this notify admin class. Okay, also we have to capture the post data here, and this post data will come from this event. So inside the event we will have the post data in the form of array. So I will put dump_i $event. Alright, before that I'll just comment these two lines from here. Now we will have to bind this listener in order to capture the event. So I'll come to the post controller, and from here I will dispatch one event. So I'll just capture this post data in a variable as $post, And from here I will just add if condition. If the post is created, then I will dispatch that event. So we have the event as post published. Okay, so I will dispatch this event after creating the post. So I will just paste post published class here, and here I will just use the dispatch method. Inside this I will just pass the post data. Okay, just like this, and after that I will return the post. Now let's come inside this post published event class, and here we will have to capture that post data. So let's define a public variable, public $post, and let's assign this constructor variable to this public variable post. Okay, that's all. So the event is responsible only for capturing the data from the controller, or this could be a service class. Rest we will have to write the logic to send email or logging the activity inside the respective listeners. So we have the notify admin listener, right? Now in order to connect this post publish event with the listener, we will have to register this. That means we will have to bind this together. So we will have to bind it inside the app service provider. So if we'll come to the app providers, here we have the app service provider. If you want, you can create another service provider here, but as of now I'm just going to add it inside app service provider itself. So inside this boot method we will have to bind those using the event facade. So we will be using event : listen function. Now inside the listen function, this will accept two parameters. The first parameter will be the event name, and the second parameter will be the listener. So we have the event as post published : class, and next we have to pass the listener class name. So for this post published event we have two listeners. First, notify admin listener. So we will write notify admin listener : class. Okay, we have one more listener, so I will just register that as of now. That is for log post published listener. This is done. Now I will come to the notify admin listener. Inside this we have added dump and die. I'll come to the browser now. I'll go back to the application and refresh. I will create one more post using the event and listener. Let's click on submit. Here we can see inside the notify admin listener we go to the event. Inside the event we have the post object. So I'll come to the code. Here we will have to pass the post data with the event, just like event post. Okay, this is done. So from here this will trigger the notification to the admin user. Let's check out now. I'll go back, I will refresh, I will create another post description. Let's click on submit. Yes, the post has been created and this has dispatched the event. So I'll come to the terminal again, because we have scheduled the email notification using the queue. So again I will run php addition queue work. Now this is dispatching the email. Okay, here we have the multiple queue triggered based on different posts. I will come to the mail trap mailbox. Here we received the post notification. Okay, this was the previous post, and here this is the current post, another post. All right, and here we received multiple emails because we have dispatched this using the observer and listeners as well. So based on that, this has triggered the email. Now let's come to the code editor. Now here you will have to understand the differences between the observers and the event listeners. So we saw the post observer was connected with the post model only. this has no any scope to use globally based on other model. Okay, this post observer is connected with the post model lifecycle only, so that when the post model actions will be performed, these will be automatically captured by the post observer. But regarding the event and listener, the events can be worked as a globally, and this can be dispatched from any of your class or services or controllers. This is not particularly connected with your model. And same thing for the listeners. The listeners can be connected with any event. So to summarize, you can use observers for model specific logic and events listener for application wide logic. The observers keep your code organized, while events and listener make it modular. So by using this, you can use that globally in your entire application. And as a best practice, you can avoid overloading observers with too much logic, because currently inside the post observer, for this created method, we have added two functionalities, just like the first functionality is notifying admin, and here I'm just logging the activity. So respective to this, you have to just take care of one thing. Don't put too much logic here inside the observer. Again, this is responsible to handle one functionality inside a single method. Here inside the created function, we have added two functionalities. So if you have more than one functionalities to be added inside the model lifecycle methods, you will have to use event and listener, because you cannot put multiple functionalities inside a single function to be handled. So that will be good practice, like you just have to avoid overloading the observers with multiple functionalities. Instead, you can use events and listener to keep your code clean and maintainable. That's why we have created one event and two listeners. So in the first listener, we have the notify admin listener, in which we are just notifying to the admin for the newly created post. And in the second listeners, we can add the log activity here. Alright. So by using this way, we can organize your code and you can make it modular and reusable. So now you know exactly when to use Laravel Observers versus events and listener. You can let me know which approach do you use more in your project. Before wrapping up, I would like to remind you that we have covered Laravel events, events listeners and observers in a separate videos. In this video, we just combined the observer and event listeners to see their differences. And also don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more Laravel contents. See you soon in the next video. Until then, happy coding.